Imagine opening your eyes in the year 1026. There is no electricity, no cars, no internet, no hospital waiting for you, and you have absolutely no idea that the modern world will ever exist. You were simply born into the world you were given, but what would your life actually look like? First, you need to understand one thing. The year 1026 was not one single world. Life looked very different depending on where you were born. Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and the Americas all had different cultures, technologies, foods, and political systems. So imagine you were born in a rural community somewhere in medieval Europe. Your house would probably look nothing like your home today. Many ordinary people lived in simple homes made from materials such as wood, earth, and thatch. There was no central heating, there was no refrigerator, and there was certainly no light switch. After sunset, darkness became part of everyday life. Your family would rely on daylight, fire, candles, or simple lamps. And your morning would begin very differently. You wouldn't wake up because your smartphone alarm started playing music. You would wake because the sun came up, or because someone in your household needed you. For many people, daily life was closely connected to farming. Food was not something you simply bought. It was something you had to grow, raise, gather, preserve, or trade. Grains were extremely important. Depending on the region, people could eat foods made from wheat, barley, rye, oats, vegetables, legumes, dairy products, fish, or meat. But your menu depended heavily on where you lived and what your community could produce. And there was another problem: winter. Today, if your favorite food disappears from the supermarket, you can simply buy something else. A person living 1,000 years ago didn't have that luxury. A bad harvest could affect an entire community. So food wasn't just about taste. Food was survival. Now imagine your childhood. You probably wouldn't spend hours sitting in a classroom with a laptop. Formal education was limited and varied greatly by place, social position, religion, and gender. Some children learned skills directly from their families. Others became apprentices. And in religious communities, some children had opportunities to learn reading, writing, and religious texts. But for most people, childhood eventually became preparation for adult responsibilities. You learned how to work, how to make things, how to care for animals, how to prepare food, how to survive in your environment. And you would probably start helping your household much earlier than children do today. But here's something surprising. People living 1,000 years ago were not simply less intelligent. They were humans exactly like us. They laughed, they argued, they fell in love, they worried about their families, they told stories, they played games, they celebrated important events, they had ambitions, they had fears. The technology changed, human nature didn't. And then there was time. You might think life without clocks meant people had no idea what time it was, but they had other ways of measuring it. The position of the sun mattered. Shadows mattered. Church bells mattered in some communities. People organized their days around daylight, meals, work, religious practices, and seasons. Your day didn't need to be measured down to the minute. There was no notification telling you that you had been scrolling for 2 hours. There was no calendar reminding you about 12 meetings tomorrow. Your relationship with time was simply different. But life also had serious dangers. A small injury could become a major problem. Infections could be difficult to treat. Pregnancy and childbirth were far more dangerous than they are in places with modern medical care. And infectious diseases could spread through communities. People understood some causes of illness, but they did not have modern germ theory, antibiotics, vaccines, or advanced diagnostic equipment. So surviving wasn't guaranteed, but neither was life miserable every second. That's an important distinction. Historians have found evidence of ordinary people building homes, making tools, producing food, trading goods, creating art, practicing religion, and raising families. Medieval life was difficult in many ways, but people still found moments of happiness: a meal with family, a festival, a song, a story beside the fire, a successful harvest, a wedding, a quiet evening after a long day. And perhaps that is the strangest part. If you were born in 1026, you wouldn't constantly think about everything you were missing, because you wouldn't know those things existed. You wouldn't miss the internet. You wouldn't miss your smartphone. You wouldn't miss air conditioning. You wouldn't miss Netflix. They weren't part of your reality. Your idea of a normal life would be completely different. And that's the real thought experiment. Imagine taking a person from 1026 and placing them in your bedroom tonight. Give them electricity, a refrigerator, a television, a smartphone, the internet. They might think you were showing them magic. Now, reverse it. Take your smartphone away, turn off the lights, remove the cars, remove the supermarkets, remove modern medicine, and suddenly your normal life becomes unimaginable. Because history isn't simply a story about people who lived before us. It's a story about how quickly normal can change. 1,000 years ago, your entire world might have been the village, the fields, the forest, and the people around you. Today, your world can contain almost the entire planet. And yet, beneath all those changes, you're still doing many of the same things. You still need food. You still need shelter. You still need people. You still search for meaning. You still worry about tomorrow. You still want the people you love to be safe. So maybe the biggest difference between you and someone born in 1026 isn't how human you are. It's simply how much of the world you can access. And that changes the way you should look at modern life. Because the world around you feels normal only because you were born into it. 1,000 years from now, someone may look at our lives the same way we look at theirs. 1,000 years ago, life was unfamiliar to us. 1,000 years from now, our lives may be unfamiliar to them, and perhaps that is the most important lesson. The world changes, technology changes, but being human doesn't change nearly as much. And maybe that is what someone born in 1026 would want us to remember. Your world feels ordinary because it is the only world you have ever known, but to someone from another century, it could look like science fiction. And to someone 1,000 years from now, our world might look exactly the same. You were simply born at one point in an enormous human story. And that may be the strangest thing of all. 1,000 years ago, someone thought their world was normal. Today, we think ours is normal. And 1,000 years from now, someone will probably think their world is normal too. That's the strange thing about being human. We adapt to whatever world we are born into, and then we call it normal.